Brother Piya, over to you for the meditation. Thank you.
Right. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kāmesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya macca pamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, let us now prepare ourselves to sit comfortably in a very proper and ready way of sitting so that we are alert and comfortable for a short loving kindness meditation. For today's meditation, I'm going to teach you something special, the so-called difficult fourth stage. It is difficult in the sense that the subject is a difficult person. It's not someone who doesn't like us, or someone whom we don't like, someone who has hurt us, or someone we have some issues with. The normal advice is, if you have difficulty, you should just let go of this person for the moment. Go back to a suitable level of meditation. Go back to your metta, in other words. So don't fight the meditation. Do not harbor any negative thoughts, in other words. I'm going to guide you today to make this stage easy. That is why the Suta teaching, the teaching aspect is very important in meditation. We must learn some teachings about how the mind works, how meditation works, and some skills in the overcoming difficulties, like the so-called fourth stage. Yeah. In a sense, this is a practice on on compassion, but we are showing our loving kindness to someone we feel do not deserve it. A simple way is to tell ourselves, or to tell this person even in the meditation, that nobody wants to hurt others. Nobody really, given a choice, want to hurt others, especially when they are happy. Happy people do not hurt other people. There are various reasons people hurt us, or we hurt others, or we get angry with others, or we forget how important other people are. There are reasons for this. So two things we must do. One is tell ourselves, I want you to be happy. Address this unhappy person and say, I want you to be happy, so that when you see me the next time, you'll feel happy. So may you be well and happy. And when you see me, may you be happy. May I be happy. So that's the idea, basically. Work with that. Remember, these are all wholesome feelings. This is a training. This is samadhi sikha. This is meditation training we're giving ourselves to work out this difficulty we have. So it's something we start in a small way. So don't think you can't do it. Don't think. The thinking is the problem here. The thinking brings back the past. The feeling is the present. So in this meditation, we want to be here in this present, cultivating, building up this very positive, very healthy feeling. The second quality is forgiveness. You say, I forgive you for all the things that you have done. I forgive you. It's not easy, but I forgive you because I know you have difficulties of your own. Or, in some cases, I forgive myself because sometimes we know we've made a mistake. I forgive myself completely for this thing which I should not have done. So sort this out accordingly. That is provided you can manage this. If you still can't do it, it's all right. The time is not right, so just take that step back, build up the earlier stages of loving kindness. So remember, this is part of the whole process of loving kindness. You can't do this by itself unless you're very good. So let us begin by building up this loving kindness towards ourselves. You can start by picturing yourself in a happy place, your favorite beautiful garden or beautiful part of the house. Or you can picture a happy event in your life. You feel very happy at that time, even as a child. At any time, you can help this feeling with words. May I be well. May I be well. Smile. Feel the wellness. May I be happy. May I be happy. Smile. May I be at peace with myself. May I be at peace with myself. Smile. I accept myself just as I am. I accept myself just as I am. So choose a couple of sentences, repeat them, smile, feel the loving kindness in your body and mind. Now, if you like, you can, even at this stage, picture a beautiful white lotus flower in the center of your heart. And this lotus flower is very bright, radiant, shining like the sun itself, with the light of your loving kindness, brightening up your body and mind. So this beautiful bright light of loving kindness is shining from your heart. And this bright light is enveloping, shining on the next person, that is the second stage, your dearest friend, the kindest person that you know. Now, at this stage, we do not think of our of our spouse or someone we are involved with. It is too early. We think of someone who's alive, a relative, a friend, or a teacher who's living, who is very kind to us, who's always there for us. When we think of this person, we feel very happy, peaceful, secure. Picture this person in a happy moment. Shine your bright light on this person and tell this person all those happy words, happy feelings, as you have done before. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be at peace with yourself. I accept you just as you are. And so on. And smile anytime you feel like it. Picture the person if you like, if you can. Otherwise, use the name. Now in the next stage, shine the brightness of your loving kindness to everyone in your house, wherever you are, in the next room or in the same block, the general area, depending on where you are, like it's the rising sun, the brightness and the warmth are spreading. So you are sending out your loving kindness all around you, like radio waves, showing your loving kindness to a wider circle around you. May our neighbors be well and happy. May the people in this area be well and happy. Smile. If the people you know in that area, just picture them, think of them, send your loving kindness to them personally. May everyone around us in the neighborhood be well and happy. Now we come to the next stage, the difficult one. Picture someone who has hurt you, who's hurting you, or someone you have hurt. Just take one person that you can manage. Just tell this person, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be at peace with yourself. I accept you just as you are. Choose the right words that you can properly deal with this person. What you're doing is you are clearing up the darkness in your own heart. You are healing yourself. You are not losing anything. You are healing yourself. You are becoming stronger so that this person will not hurt you and you will not hurt anyone. So it's not a weakness, it's a strength. It's a joy. We learn to be happy. We learn to be joyful. That way we don't want to hurt people. And even if people want to hurt us, it doesn't matter because we have no wound in our hand, as the Buddha says. When you have no wound in your hand, you can even carry poison. It won't harm you. May you be well and happy. I forgive you all the things, all the wrongs you have done. I forgive myself all the wrongs I've done. So you go on like that. Remember these stages, practice on your own. But remember, the moment you have difficulty, step back to the positive light of loving kindness. Smile with loving kindness. Now I want you to be present again, right here in the center of this global community. Each of us is a center, and send out your loving kindness to everyone else in this Zoom Sutta meeting. I'm sending my loving kindness to all of you. So each of you send your loving kindness to everyone else. So we are like countless jewels in the universe, reflecting the light of loving kindness in each of us, reflecting, sending out these beautiful lights of loving kindness to everyone throughout the world. May you be well. Smile. May you be happy. May you be at peace with yourself. I accept you just as you are. So go on saying words like that. Send out your loving kindness globally. And now we come to the most important stage in our loving kindness meditation. This is called the universal stage, or universalizing stage, or breaking the barriers. In other words, there's no limit to our meditation. We send out our loving kindness, shine the bright light of loving kindness throughout the world, throughout the universe, of our mind, of our consciousness. Beginning with the front directions. May all the beings in the front directions be well and happy. Shine the brightness of your loving kindness frontwards, right to the end of the universe. Smile. May all the beings in the directions to the right be well and happy. Shine the brightness of your loving kindness in the right quarter and brighten up the whole quarter. May all the beings in the directions at the back be well and happy. Shine your loving kindness, the light of your loving kindness in all the directions at the back. May all the beings in the directions to the left be well and happy. Brighten up the left quarter and smile. May all the beings in the directions below be well and happy. Brighten up the zenith, the directions below. May all the beings in the directions above be well and happy. Brighten up the directions above. In all directions to all beings above. And smile. May all the beings everywhere be well and happy. Shine the light of your loving kindness everywhere throughout the world. The totality of your consciousness, your mind, your heart. So remember these steps. You can do the whole sequence, or you can select certain parts that you need. Take as long as you like for each section, or as short as you can, up to you, in your own practice. Or you can anytime, as you move around, as you work, just spend a moment sending out loving kindness to someone who comes to mind, or someone before you. At this stage, we review our practice. We call to mind the peace, the joy, how wonderful it is. This will help you in your practice in the future. If there are difficulties, also remember them, how to overcome the difficulties. So next time you know what to do. This is your review period. Review moment, if you like. When you're practicing on your own, you can take your time, you can even make notes. Now, if you're ready to end this meeting, this gathered sitting, just open your eyes. This is called just sitting. We begin our meditation slowly, gently. We end it also slowly, gently. Sadhu. Very good. Okay. Look at our sutta today. Today's sutta is it's a short and sweet sutta given to the young 7-year-old Rahula, only son of the Buddha, at Ambalatthika. So it's called Ambalatthika Rāhul'ovāda Sutta. You can see that on the top right-hand corner of the sutta itself. It's okay. It's right at the top of your page. The discourse on the advice to Rahula at Ambalatthika. Ambalatthika is the name of a place between Rajagaha and Nalanda. Either you remember the name or the number, M61. The keyword there is Rāhul'ovāda. Okay, Rahula, name of the person, Ovāda. Now notice Ovāda, there is Vada there. Vada means speech, talk, and then O in front. So O has a kind of like a teacher is talking to a pupil. Okay, Ovāda, it means advice, instructions. Amba means mango. Laṭṭhikā is a kind of like a plant, like leaves of this sugarcane leaves is called laṭṭhikā. So it's just a name of a place, Ambalatthika. This sutta is a very simple sutta. It's about, the Buddha is teaching a 7-year-old monk about the unwholesomeness of lying, a kind of wrong speech. Now we may think, oh, I know about this. But believe me, this is one of the most difficult of Buddhist practices. If ever there is one practice that most Buddhists fail, would be this one, the Fourth Priesthood, Musavada. So this is a really big thing because very often different cultures, there are different ways of coping with people, coping with stress, coping with social pressure. So one way is not to tell the truth, right? Of course, someone asks us, how are you? We almost spontaneously will say, oh, I'm okay. I hope you're okay too. But actually, we're not so well. We don't feel very well, but we just don't want. It's just a convention. In this case, it's a social convention, so we're not lying. Okay. But on the other hand, we do have situations where somehow we just either we're not ready to tell the truth, or we don't want to tell the truth for various reasons. Okay? If we are lying because of greed, hatred, delusion, that's a problem. Okay, so this is what the sutta addresses. Habitual lying is also not good. In fact, the sutta clearly says lying in jest, lying for fun also is not good, especially lying for fun anyway. Now, many of us are Chinese Buddhists. We follow early Buddhism, but we have Chinese culture. And Chinese culture, we have to deal with a big crowd. And so how we talk to others is kind of something conditioned. We do not want to hurt people. And we also have something called faith. We don't want to lose out to others, so to speak. This is how we've been conditioned. And so we do not always tell the truth. you'll be surprised how often a Buddhist do this at all levels, from the highest level to the lowest level. We don't tell the truth. Even to our teachers, we lie blatantly, shamelessly, we lie. Often the teachers know that you'll just keep quiet unless you're very close. The teacher may kind of kindly, wisely advise you. So we have things, observers, outside observers use words like the Chinese yes. We like to say yes, 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 but we never do it. That's the Chinese yes. So it's become a proverb. No? So we have to be very careful about such things, about saying yes so easily and not honoring it. It is a lie, and it becomes difficult once we get caught up with this kind of negative habit. So remember, karma is still created whether you are conscious of it or not conscious of it. So if you habitually lie, it is still karma, although you may say, oh, it's not my intention to lie. Or maybe you may not have greed or hatred, but there is delusion. There is this idea that, oh, it's okay to lie, I'm not hurting anyone. But you're not helping anyone too, right? So you can see that actually lying can mislead people in such a way that we won't progress. Imagine if the Buddha is not to tell us the truth. The Buddha is telling us the truth all the way. In this sutta, and all the other suttas we've been following, we study the Buddha Sutta because it's telling the truth. And that is why truth is so important. So this fourth precept is about the value of truth. So having said that, we can see the most valuable teaching we have today to strengthen this aspect of our social life, so to speak. Now, the great thing about the Buddha's teaching is he teaches us such important moral virtue, social quality, in great practical detail. He doesn't merely tell us, oh, worship me, worship this God, worship this powerful idea, lots of stories and, worshiping and rituals. But no, here we have something really practical, and be amazed at how systematic, how clearly the steps for practice are given to us. And this is a very wonderful lesson, for example, in psychotherapy, on how to help people better themselves. This is an excellent lesson for school children on how to build up their moral strength, so that in the future we have good leaders, we cut down corruption, and we have good governance and so on. Let's look at the sutta now. Thus have I heard, at one time the Blessed One was staying in the squirrels' feeding ground in the bamboo grove near Rajagaha. So this bamboo grove is a big place, and part of it, there are lots of squirrels, and people go there to feed them. Okay, so at that time, the Venerable Rahula was staying in Ambalatthika. So there's this young novice, 7 years old, is staying nearby. Then the Blessed One, emerging from his evening retreat, went to where the Venerable Rahula was staying in Ambalatthika. So here, imagine this is just as the sun is setting. The Buddha has finished his evening meditation, very peaceful. So the Buddha walks to see Rahula. Now, Rahula is sitting there meditating outside we're sitting quietly outside his cell, and he sees the Buddha coming. Very often, monks will do this. They're always aware if the teacher is coming or not. The Venerable Rahula saw him coming from afar, and on seeing him, prepared a seat and water for washing the feet. Remember, those days, the monks walk around barefoot. Nowadays, we see monks wearing very nice sandals, even expensive shoes. And they're becoming, what's interesting nowadays, you see, every generation, the monks are becoming to look more and more like laymen. They have longer hair now, and they cover themselves up more like lay people. and he also wearing shoes and so on. But the Buddha dressed very simply. He walks barefoot, and there is dust. So when the teacher comes along, when a senior monk comes along to visit a junior monk, there's always water at the front door, and for this monk to wash his feet and wash his hands and clean water to drink also. So water is a very important gesture of welcome. Notice in Asia, we often do this. When we have a visitor, we at least offer a cup of water. The Blessed One sat down on the prepared seat and, while seated, washed his feet. The Venerable Rahula then bowed down to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. Right. So when the teacher is ready, the young novice bows down to the teacher, to his father also. Now, what's interesting here is these actions which the Buddha has just done, washing his feet with the water and so on, he uses this as the lesson, as the model for the whole sutta. This is amazing. Huh? Now notice section 3. Then the Blessed One, having left a little bit of water in the water vessel, said to the Venerable Rahula, Rahula, do you see this little bit of water remaining in the water vessel? Yes, Bhante. Okay, so notice it's very simple here. First of all, the Buddha directs the attention of Rahula to the object, the lesson object, right? So in other words, this water represents the world, what Rahula knows, what we know. From there, the Buddha leads to what needs to be known, okay? Even so, right? So now the Buddha is going to lead Rahula and lead us to what needs to be known. Moral virtue. Even so, Rahula, little is the recluseship of those who have no shame in telling a deliberate lie, right? So the Buddha says, if you are a monk, if you are a Buddhist teacher, Buddhist leader, and you lie, then there's only a little bit of water left, just like here in this container. There is little recluseship. Recluseship means the holy life, the Buddhist life, or simply moral goodness, if you like. Very little left. Okay? Then, what did the Buddha do? He throws away the water, he casts away the water. Section 4. Having thrown away the little bit of water, the Blessed One said to the Venerable Rahula, Rahula, do you see how this little bit of remaining water is thrown away? Of course, Rahula is observing all this. So, yes, Bhante. Even so, Rahula, thrown away is the recluseship of those who have no shame in telling a deliberate lie. So this becomes worse. So you see the situation aggravating, the situation becoming worse. So if the person lies and it keeps on lying. This is called latent tendency. When you lie once, you're likely to lie again and again, right? This is how latent tendency works. Lies attract lies, endlessly. So the water is thrown away, right? So the Buddha tells Rahula a very simple truth. It's amazing how simple this teaching is and how real, how practical, how important it is. Thrown away is recluseship. You have destroyed, you have forgotten all these good things you have learned. People, when we lie, notice we forget all these good things. We have gone below the human state. We don't realize that we've gone below the human state. Lower than animals, by the way. Even animals don't lie. Animals rarely lie. Animals are very straightforward, right? So it's worse than animals. Then, section 5, having turned the water vessel upside down, the Blessed One said to the Venerable Rahula, Rahula, do you see how this water vessel is turned upside down? Yes, Bhante. Even so, Rahula, upside down is the recluseship of those who have no shame in telling a deliberate lie, right? So turning upside down has a very powerful significance in the Sangha, amongst the monks. You see, the monks, the early Buddhist monks anyway, those who follow the early Buddhist Sangha teachings, they're very gentle, but yet they are firm in their goodness. Right? So if, let's say, lay people talk bad about the good monks and do so in a wrong way, you see, lay people can criticize monks, and they should criticize monks. In fact, the criticisms of the lay people are enshrined in the Vinaya. It's because a lot of lay people complain about a lot of things which are wrong or which needs to be corrected about the monks, that the Buddha introduced rules and made adjustments to the rules so that the Dhamma is protected, the Sangha is protected, and the lay people have the benefit of the Dhamma Vinaya. So if the lay people themselves do not respect the monk, and they are unjust, they scold the monk, or they don't like the monk for the wrong reasons, then the monks will turn their bowl upside down. You may see this happening in Myanmar, by the way, right now. Once again, you have this military taking over. So the lay people have their own way of turning the world upside down. The nurses and those health workers, they start working as a gesture of rejection of this wrong way of social action. So they turn the world upside down. They peacefully, they just lay down their work, they start working to show they disapprove of this wrong way of reacting to governance. So the monks will turn their bowl upside down, meaning the monks will not go to the house, to the layman's house, to the lay people to collect food. They refuse to accept alms. Of course, you may say, don't the monks go hungry? Well, they will go elsewhere. Oh yes, they will go hungry if they have to. But this is the way they are teaching a very important lesson to the lay people. If you do not respect us, you do not respect the Dhamma, you don't practice, then we don't mind going hungry. Even it means we may be threatened with death, because we are not going to eat alms from someone who does not respect us, who does not respect the Dhamma. So this is called principles, right? Turning the bowl upside down, right? So then, now what's amazing is the Buddha did something else. Everything is a beautiful sequence, number 6. Having turned the water vessel right side up, the Blessed One said to the Venerable Rahula, Rahula, do you see how empty and hollow this water vessel is? Yes, Bhante, says Rahula. Okay, so even so, Rahula, empty and hollow is the recluseship of those who have no shame in telling a deliberate lie. Right? So, in other words, the life of a monk or a Buddhist who lies is hollow. There's nothing there. It's all bluff, all lies. Right? Okay, so now the teaching to Rahula ends here. The danger of lying. Notice, if you're intellectual, you say, oh, I know what the Buddha has taught. The Buddha says, don't lie. And then we forget about it. Once you summarize everything in just one line, one-liners, then you forget about it. But here we have all this teaching given very beautifully, very clearly, so that we remember this. Now the Buddha addresses the mind, right? So far the Buddha has given, okay, these are the things you should not do. Then the Buddha addresses the heart. He uses a metaphor, the parable of the royal elephant, so that this idea is driven home. We remember this, that this teaching is real. You can see this in your daily life, in what is beautiful and good in our daily life, all around us. Section 7. Suppose, Rahula, there is this royal elephant, the king's elephant, well trained, okay? Its tusks long like chariot poles, fully grown, fit to, or the explanation here is in the commentary explanation, fit to carry a burden of good pedigree. In other words, intelligent, accustomed to battles. And in battle, it uses its forefeet and hind feet, its forequarter and hindquarter, its head and ears, its tusk and tail. So this elephant is very intelligent, very clever. It protects the mahau, and the king sitting on his back, and it uses his whole body to protect the king and to fight the enemy. But it protects its trunk. Now, we're not told why it needs to do this, but I think we all know the nose of the elephant is very sensitive, right? So he will protect the trunk. How does he protect the trunk? He puts the tip of the trunk in the mouth to protect himself. Noticing this, the elephant rider thinks, this royal elephant is thus long, like chariot post, fully grown, fit to carry a burden, of good pedigree, accustomed to battles. And in battle, it uses its forefeet and hind feet, its forequarter and hindquarter, front and back that is, its head and ears, and its tusk and tail, but it protects its trunk. It has not given up its life. Notice the second part is although it's a repeat, but the conclusion is different. It has not given up its life. In other words, it is brave and strong, and it is protecting the riders that is on its back. Okay, so this is the positive metaphor. Now then there is a negative metaphor, 7.3. But Rahula, when the royal elephant is thus long and so on, as mentioned earlier, this elephant is a war elephant, but it also uses its trunk too. It uses its trunk to fight the enemies. Noticing this, the elephant rider thinks, oh, this royal elephant, despite all its abilities to fight and so on, it has given up its life. Now there is nothing it will not do, right? So in other words, this elephant is not disciplined. Now you may ask, why? So what's the big deal about the trunk? Now you notice the trunk is the most stiff part. In a sense, is the weakest part of the elephant. So can you imagine the enemy can easily just strike a sword and just hurt the elephant's nose, and it'll be very painful for the elephant. Then the elephant will panic or run away. So that's the danger. The elephant is showing its weak side to the enemy. So the elephant rider knows, okay, this elephant is not well trained, right? It will easily get hurt. So what is the lesson here for us? It's not about elephant racing. You find you have a lot of this kind of beautiful analogy showing how the Buddha, the ancient Buddhists are aware of how they raise elephants and horses. We'll be doing one sutta on horses, how horses are raised in a pedigree and so on. And it has to do with counseling. So here, this elephant is showing how we should not lie. Because if we lie, then there is a weak spot in us, and this is going to hurt us. We're going to really lose a lot of things, lose respect. People are not going to respect us. And we're going to lose touch with the dhamma. We're going to lose our roots and so on. So this is really scary, right? So that's why the Buddha is warning us about this. Okay, let's go further down now. So now we come to the next part. Before that, the Buddha gives a conclusion, 7.4. Right? Rahula, it is the same with anyone who has no shame in telling a deliberate lie. There is no bad that he would not say, that he will not do. Rahula, okay, this is the conclusion. Rahula, you should train yourself thus. I will not tell a deliberate lie, even in jest, even for fun. Notice, even for fun. Okay. Okay, so now the second part is finished. All right, the parable of the elephant. Now the Buddha goes into something more serious, deeper, psychological, if you like. The parable of the mirror And this is the practice. This is the most important, the most beautiful part of the sutta for us, especially for us today. Section 8. What do you think, Rahula? What is a mirror for? Now this is interesting because when the Buddha said there's a mirror, so we know mirrors do exist in the Buddha's time. But what kind of mirror? This is the problem, okay? I don't think it's the kind of mirror that you look into that you have on the wall. I don't think they have the kind of mirror yet. So they will use some kind of polished metal, very, very shiny polished metal, okay? So what is a mirror for? For reviewing or for reflecting, Bhante. In the same way, Rahula. So notice here again, the Buddha is using something which Rahula knows, something which we know, and then the Buddha is highlighting, pointing to us something new that we can learn, which is really important for us, more important than the object itself. In the same way, Rahula, bodily action should be done only after repeated reviewing, or if you like, constant reflection. Verbal action should be done only after repeated reviewing or constant reflection. Mental action should be done only after repeated reviewing or constant reflection. Okay, these are the three karmic doors: body, speech, and mind. These are the three doors where karma enter our lives. Good karma, bad karma. So the Buddha is training Rahula how to guard the three doors. This is another way of summarizing moral virtue, moral action, moral training, sila sika, the training of body, speech, and mind. Okay, we often say moral training or the Vinaya deals with body and speech, right? But here it includes the mind also, the third one. So this is the complete one, right? Mental training is covered by the second training and the third training too, right? So body, speech, and mind must be guarded. So now the Buddha goes a little bit more broadly. Okay, let's go on a bit more. So now the Buddha goes into really interesting details of psychological training. There are three aspects here. Before the action, while we are doing it, and then after the action, three parts. And so three actions to be done in three ways. So you can see how the Buddha goes into every detail of the practice. This is amazing. This is one of the key value in studying the sutta. So if you have this wrong idea, you say, oh, the sutta, they're repetitive, you know, they're so boring. You know, the moment you say boring, you cut off this intelligence door. You know, so don't say that. It is something that helps us to remember. Okay, look at section 9, Rahula. Whenever you want to do an action with the body, you should review that bodily action. Thus, this action I want to do with the body, will it harm me? Will it harm others? Will it harm both? Will it be an unwholesome bodily action with painful outcome, painful result? So this is something we ask ourselves. Now look at the way this question is phrased. They are highlighted for you whenever you want to do something, before acting, before doing, with the body, before acting with the body. So this covers the first three precepts also, by the way, which are broken through the body. So we should review, reflect. Now this thing I'm going to do, right? Will it harm me? Okay, these are called the three purities of action. Whatever I do will not harm me, will not harm others, will not harm the environment, if you like. The third one you can think of like environment. So if we don't harm these three things, then you are safe, right? These are the ideal teachings, right? There are of course difficult issues, Life is not so simple as that, okay? But this is the basic idea which keeps the world a safe place for us to live in. In summary, will it be what we do here, will it be a bad action of the body, which bring us suffering and pain, mental and physical? Then, 9.2, if Rahula, on reviewing, you know, this action I want to do with the body will harm me, will harm others, will harm both. It will be an unwholesome bodily action with painful outcome, painful result. Then certainly, Rahula, you should not do such an action with the body. Right? So notice the second line, will harm me, will harm others, will harm both. Will harm me, okay, hurt me, okay, I should not do it. Maybe it doesn't hurt me, but it will actually benefit me, but it will hurt others. That's also wrong. Okay? On some occasion, both sides will suffer. That means a kind of a common harm. The environment is included here. Okay? So in that case, we should not do it. And certainly we should not do it. 9.3, but Rahula, if on reviewing you know this action I want to do with the body will not harm me, will not harm others, will not harm both, it will be a wholesome bodily action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result, then Rahula, you should do such an action with the body. So it's quite simple here. In summary, if we want to do something with an action with the body, it doesn't harm me or harm others or the environment. In fact, it's good. Then I can do it. I should do it. Then the next one is while we are doing it. Okay, 1b. The template is there, so you have a good idea. But remember, don't just say, "Oh, I have a good idea." You forget about it. Then you will really forget about it. You don't think about it anymore. It doesn't register. So you need to go through this list. The whole idea of this repetition, this oral tradition, is to help you remember this truth, help you make it a part of your practice and life. So don't take the intellectual stand and say, "Oh, I know this." And when you say "I know this," it means you don't know this. Simple as that. 10. Rahula, while doing an action with the body, you should review that bodily action thus. This action I am doing with the body, is it harming me? Is it harming others? Is it harming both? Is it an unwholesome bodily action with painful outcome, painful result? 10.2. If on reviewing, you know this action I'm doing with the body is harming me, is harming others, is harming both. It is basically an unwholesome bodily action, then you should give it up, stop doing it. Okay? Now remember, these 3 points of purity, they can be cumulative or they can be separate, okay? Each of them working on their own, all right? On the other hand, 10.3 is quite clear. If you, upon reviewing, upon thinking about it, your action will not harm yourself, will not harm others, will not harm the environment. In fact, it is a wholesome action, it's a good action, pleasant result. The last line is the important line. Then Rahula, you should pursue such an action with the body, right? In fact, this kind of theme, action you should pursue, you should not pursue, is the subject of a complete sutta, the Sevitaba Sutta. Okay? So this is to remind us to strengthen our moral virtue. All right? Now let's talk a bit about next part now. So this is the last part for the moment. Considering after doing it, okay, we'll do this after the break, all right? Okay, so we'll just stop here.
Okay.
Okay, so now the Buddha goes on to the third part of the first section. Okay, let's look at the notes again. Yeah, okay, very good. So this time is the considering wisely after doing, after the fact. 11. Rahula, having done an action, after the action, with the body, you should review that bodily action thus. This action I have done with the body, was it a bodily action that has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both? Was it an unwholesome bodily action with painful outcome, painful result? So we ask ourselves all this. 11.2. If Rahula, on reviewing, you know this action I have done with the body has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both, it was an unwholesome bodily action with painful outcome, painful result. By the way, this unwholesome bodily action means it is rooted in greed, hate, or delusion. Then Rahula, you should confess it, reveal it, lay it open to the teacher or to wise companions in the holy life. Having confessed it, revealed it, laid it open to the teacher or to wise companions in the holy life, you should show restraint in the future. Okay, now this is the locus classicus, the most important section where the Buddha, early Buddhists talk about confession. So anytime people ask you, where does the Buddha talk about confession? This is the part, remember, section 11, 11.2, 11.3 of M61, Ambalatthika Rāhul'ovāda Sutta. Rahula was only 7 years old then, right? Very intelligent. Confession. Now, notice what is mentioned here. You confess this wrong, and then you restrain yourself. It doesn't mean you confess me, oh, I'm pure now, I can do it again. It's not like that. Okay? So it is, the confession here is to strengthen you so that you are not afraid. People often lie because they are afraid out of fear. Fear about something. You'd be surprised, some of the most success-oriented people are the best liars because their fear is failure. So they think that lying is part of the game, but they're not happy people in the end. So in the end, we ask, why am I not happy? You know, it's because we have lied. We have made use of people in the wrong way. We are not our real person. We are false people. We are hollow people. That's why we're not happy. So that is not success, right? I mean, it may be a worldly success, but it's not happiness. So what the Buddha is saying, you not only be successful, you will also be happy, you're also good, and you are awakened, wise. So this restraint is important. When you confess, I say, okay, you go to a teacher, or you go to the person who is wise enough, or to the person you have hurt, you say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, and you won't let it happen again. So you strengthen yourself. You know after this, you're not likely to do it again because you already said it, and you have the strength through moral shame and moral fear. Moral shame means you know, okay, people know this. When you confess, it is a public thing. People know about it. You don't want to shame yourself before society. And there is this fear, you say, oh, there's karma, you know, even people may not know I'm lying, so there's this bad karma, right? So 11.4 on the positive side. But Rahula, if on reviewing, you know this action I've done with the body has not harmed me, has not harmed others, has not harmed both, it was a wholesome bodily action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result, then Rahula, you should, with zest and joy, train night and day in wholesome things. Right? So notice this last line is a happy one, zest and joy. Right? The Piti Sukha. This hints of a bit of meditation. Okay, so in other words, you practice mindfully. You also, it helps in your meditation. Then you are able to cultivate joy, and you can be happy with other people too. Right? So this is how you live happily with the body, with your bodily actions. Now this whole cycle repeats for the words, for verbal action, right? Again, don't take for granted and say, oh, I already know the body action, so now everything is repeated for the verbal action, which is true. But then if you don't go through it, you don't reflect on it, you don't look at it and experience it, you will forget it. You will forget it. You're just a tourist. You're not someone who lives this experience. So it's very important to go through it again. 2A, consider wisely before speaking. Rahula, whenever you want to do an action with speech, you should review that verbal action thus. This action I want to do with speech, will it harm me? Will it harm others? Will it harm both? Will it be an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful result? If Rahula, on reviewing, you know this action I want to do with speech will harm me, will harm others, will harm both, it will be an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful result, then certainly, Rahula, you should not do such an action with speech. But Rahula, if on reviewing you know this action I want to do with speech will not harm me, will not harm others, will not harm both, it will be a wholesome verbal action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result, then Rahula, you should do such an action with speech. So there you are. You see, this reflection is something which is teaching us. It's the Buddha's voice still speaking to us through the centuries, through the millennia. Okay, so we must not say, "Oh, I know this. I don't need to read it anymore." You know, I met people who actually say that. There was one Buddhist I met once when I was visiting Malacca. I happened to hear him talking about Buddhism, so I said, "Oh, that's nice." So I said, I introduced myself, and I said, "Oh, he said he's so and so, and he's doing some big thing." I said, "Oh, I'm doing Suta translation, you know." And he says, "Oh, I already learned enough. I don't need to learn anymore." So I think I said, "Oh dear, you're going to have a lot of problems, you know, talking like that." So we can already know his attitude towards learning, right? Okay, so now we can see this passage. We just read it, and it comes to us so clearly, and it strengthens us as practicing Buddhists. Okay. All right, let's go to the next section. 2b. Consider wisely while speaking. Rahula, while you are doing an action with speech, while you're doing an action with speech, in other words, you are speaking, you should review that verbal action thus. This action I'm doing with speech, what I'm speaking now, is it harming me? Is it harming others? Is it harming both? Is it an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful result? If Rahula, on reviewing, you know this action I am doing with speech is harming me, is harming others, is harming both, it is an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful result, then Rahula, you should give up such an action with speech. But Rahula, if on reviewing you know this action I am doing with speech is not harming me, is not harming others, is not harming both, then it will be a wholesome verbal action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result, then Rahula, you should pursue such an action with speech. Now, all this flow of words are very important, especially when you are not sure, is this the right thing or not? Then you read this passage, you know in no uncertain terms what the Buddha is teaching us. That is why this kind of phrasing is almost like legal language, very clear. All right? Then the 2c, consider wisely after speaking. Section 14. Rahula, having done an action with speech, in other words, after you have spoken, you should review that verbal action thus. This action I've done with speech, was it a verbal action that has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both? Was it an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful results? Okay, at this point, there's something you should know. The word an action with speech, what we do with speech, okay? In other words, we can include silence also. sometimes we want to say something, and that will hurt people. That can harm people and harm the environment, right? We could have spoken about, we didn't, you see. There is a very interesting situation. Let's say you have a nasty neighbor and he's got bad eyesight, and one day he's walking along the road, and then in the near darkness, and there's a big hole in front of him. You see that, but then you keep quiet. You tell yourself, no, I don't have to say anything. Let him walk into the hole. Right? He will hurt himself, and he may even die. So if you're silent, and you could have helped, because of that's intention you have, it is bad karma of not doing. See, that's the interesting point here. So even though when you do not act, it can be bad karma. So this, in fact, in countries like France, it's a law. If you could have helped save a life by doing something and you did not, you can be liable for prosecution, for example, right? So this phrase about an action with speech covers that kind of situation too. All right, so 14.2. If Rahula, on reviewing, this action I have done with speech has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both. It was an unwholesome verbal action with painful outcome, painful result. Then Rahula, you should confess it, reveal it, lay it open to the teacher or to wise companions in the holy life. Having confessed it, revealed it, laid it open to the teacher or to the wise companions in the holy life, you should show restraint in the future. But Rahula, if on reviewing this action I have done, the typo there, that's done with speech, has not harmed me, has not harmed both, has not harmed others, has not harmed both. It was a wholesome verbal action, pleasant outcome, pleasant result. Then Rahula, you should with zest and joy train night and day in wholesome things. All right. Now you notice even with all my careful watching and all the proofreading, they still make a typo there. I have to be done, not down, right? So you see, we all make mistakes, so we need to be reminded again and again to strengthen our mind, okay, and action. So this covers the whole section on speech. Now we come to the last section on the mind. Okay, so this is the important one. So again here, 3A, 3B, 3C. 3A, consider wisely before thinking. All right, Rahula, whenever you want to do an action with the mind, you should review what mental action that mental action does. This action I want to do with the mind. In other words, this thing I'm thinking, will it harm me? Will it harm others? Will it harm both? Right? Okay, let's go on. Next one. Will it be an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful result? If Rahula, on reviewing, this action I want to do with the mind will harm me, will harm others, will harm both. It will be an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful result. Then certainly you should not do such an action with the mind. So if you know it is bad, don't do it. But Rahula, if on reviewing this action I want to do with the mind will not harm me, nor harm others, nor harm both, it will be a wholesome mental action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result. Then Rahula, you should do such an action with the mind. Now, while you're doing it, 3B, okay, let's go up a bit, please. Right. Rahula, while doing an action with the mind, you should review. So as you are acting, as you are thinking, what you observe. So here, in other words, there is this part of your mind that's able to see itself, the reflexive consciousness. We can do that, right? That's what makes us human here. So we review this thinking. This action I'm doing with the mind, is it harming me? Is it harming others? Is it harming both? Is it an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful result? If Rahula, on reviewing, this action I'm doing with the mind is harming me, is harming others, is harming both. It is an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful result. Then Rahula, you should give up such an action with the mind. But Rahula, if on reviewing, you know this action I'm doing with the mind is not harming me, not harming others, not harming both. It is a wholesome mental action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result. Then Rahula, you should pursue such an action with the mind. Now come to the last part, 3C. Rahula, having done an action with the mind, in other words, after you have thought, it can come anytime, okay? A few days later, a few months, even a few years later. You should review. There's another typo, that double R. You should review that mental action thus. This action I've done with the mind, was it a mental action that has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both? Was it an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful results? If Rahula, on reviewing, you know that this action I've done with the mind has harmed me, has harmed others, has harmed both. It was an unwholesome mental action with painful outcome, painful result. Then you should be concerned, ashamed, disgusted regarding that mental action. Now notice, if we assume, say, oh, I already know, we will miss this very important line. It's different from the rest of the sutta. If you notice you have had a negative thought, your response should be, you should be concerned, ashamed, disgusted regarding that mental action. Okay, these are three common words used by the Buddha, even to his own action. He says, for example, I'm not keen about showing all these miraculous actions to convert people. I'm concerned, ashamed, disgusted with it. Here, this is the idea of like nibbida, okay, like this idea that this does not really help people. It will give people wrong ideas, wrong views. So this is how we react to a negative thought in our own mind, with concern, shame, and disgust, because we don't want to have anything to do with such a mind, which is negative. Right? Okay, let's go on further. 17.3. So Rahula, feeling ashamed, concerned, ashamed, disgusted, you should show restraint from then on. So in the case of the previous two actions of body of speech, we confess. Of the mind, you don't have to confess because it's quite tricky. You have to delete yourself. You delete yourself by telling you, I don't want this. I'm concerned with this. I'm ashamed of this. I'm disgusted with this. That's how you deal with it, right? Because it's your mind and no one else can help you. Self-reliance. 17.3. But Rahula, if on reviewing, you know this action I've done with the mind has not harmed me, has not harmed others, has not harmed both. It is a wholesome mental action with pleasant outcome, pleasant result. Then Rahula, you should with zest and joy train night and day in wholesome things. So this important training ends here. Now is the summary, okay? Purity of the three doors. Section 18. Rahula, all those recluses and Brahmins of the past who purified their bodily actions, purified their verbal actions, purified their mental actions, have done so through repeated viewing, repeated reviewing on their bodily actions, through repeated reviewing on their verbal actions, repeated reviewing on their mental actions. Rahula, all those recluses and Brahmins, these are the good people of the who are monks, holy men, teachers, and good people in society of the future who will purify their bodily actions, will purify their verbal actions, will purify their mental actions, will do so through repeated reviewing on their bodily action, through repeated reviewing on their verbal actions, through repeated reviewing on their mental actions. Now you notice the Buddha uses the three periods of time, past, future, and then present. The last one comes back to us, the present. 18.3. Rahula, all those recluses and Brahmins of the present who are purifying their bodily actions, are purifying their verbal actions, are purifying their mental actions, are doing so through repeated reviewing of their bodily actions, repeated viewing on their verbal actions, repeated reviewing of their mental actions. Therefore, Rahula. So now the conclusion, the Buddha says, therefore, this is what you should do, Rahula. I will purify my bodily actions through repeated reviewing. I will purify my verbal actions through repeated reviewing. I will purify my mental actions through repeated reviewing. This is how, Rahula, you should train yourself. The Blessed One said this. The Venerable Rahula rejoiced in the Blessed One's word, right? So when you say that, you know the teaching has ended, right? So this is a short and beautiful sutta to the young 7-year-old Rahula. Okay, so for the moment, the teaching has ended here.
Thank you, Brother Piya.
Yeah, go on to Q&A.
Yeah, it's time for the Q&A session now. Please feel free to ask questions live. You can raise your hand and you can ask the question. It will be good to turn on your video during this session for more interaction, or you could type your question in the chat box. I will pass the Q&A session to Sister Aixim now. Sister Aixim?
Thank you, Sister Wendy. Good evening, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Thank you for your participation in this Sutta class. The first question from Brother Tan Kim Si. By not acting or saying for fear of hurting oneself, the other or both, can it be considered as indifference?
Not. This is omission, not doing, right? Okay. Well, there is a very important word in Pali, kalena. Kalena means timely, the right time. Okay, the right time for saying so is very important. Sometimes we know if we don't say something at that moment, at that time, which is the right time, and we are silent, we will not find the occasion to say it again. And then mistakes will be done, wrong understanding will arise. So being timely is very important. Saying at the right time. At that time, maybe people will think you're crazy, you're wrong, or even you might think, am I doing the right thing? You know? But believe me, if it is timely, the right time, you know it, you say it, then you're a truly good person because you're not concerned about your status, your position in society, your popularity, your business. You're concerned of yourself as a teacher, all right? Now, in many ways, I'm guided by this approach. So I say things which need to be said. And you know, the funny thing is, as I reach the evening of my life, now that I'm 72, fewer years to live, I tell myself I have less time to tell the truth. So I better say what I need to say, because the world is reveling in lies. The world, Mara enjoys, you know, when people know the wrong things, right? So you see, embedded in the Sutta discovery, there is a special, lots of special teachings which not many people know, which is about the realities of the issues we are facing in daily life in Buddhism today, which the leaders of the future will find very valuable when they read up on these things. So that they don't repeat the mistakes of the past, that they are brave enough to tell their congregation what's right, what's wrong. You know, we have a really huge, big Buddhist community in Malaysia, in Singapore, worldwide, in Australia. And yet we are not as strong as other religious communities. Of course, we can talk about historical situations, you know. But then we can be strong. We can be a voice. We can be united. We may be different kinds of Buddhists. Doesn't matter. We can be united. You know, the other religions, there, for example, the councils of churches, all different groups. My brother was one of the members of this council of churches, and he used to tell me the problems they face. You know? So the Buddhists do not have this umbrella organization. Yes, we have a Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia, yeah, but we don't have a Buddhist Council of Malaysia, for example. You have different groups, and all these groups have their own interests. And in Singapore, you have business interests. They're just no different from, you know, a business group. Right? So we do not have this unity because we do not know, we do not dare to speak the truth. This It's the problem with the monks and the nuns. But I don't think lay people should get caught up with this. You should be truthful to each other, work together. In truth, what are our real problems? How can we work? And you cannot work, say, okay, next week, next month, next year. You can't. You have to, work in terms of generations. What you start now, the next generation will pick up. They say, oh, our previous generation, they have done something good. We must carry on. If the previous generation have started something which is not really worthwhile, and you feel obliged to carry it on, it also will not be worthwhile. So you need moral courage. One word, Vesa Raja, moral courage. Moral courage covers everything we've spoken today. The Buddha has spoken to the young Rahula. Now the Buddha is addressing us on an adult level. Moral courage to keep the precept, to speak the truth. We have in our hands the fate and future of a large community of Buddhists who are willing to listen to us. But if we lead them the wrong way, all they do is sing and dance and do what they like, have Buddhist gathering with really loud music, and committee members have so-called retreat in some chalet and they're gambling away. And the monks dare not say anything because those monks or singular monks are earning a living from the temple. They do not say anything. What are we doing? What kind of missionary society are we? See? So this is where we have shown wrong examples. Even we do not even bother about the suttas. Right? So this is where we have to get back to the suttas. We can change society. We start by changing ourselves, by being morally courageous, not to be afraid to say, the sutta says so, I'm going to follow the suttas. Right or wrong, I will follow the suttas because I know it is right. Right? So it's better to speak out when people blame you than for people to praise you for saying the wrong things. So it's our choice, right? Okay. Think about it, please. Huh?
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Lee Ting Lo. What are the lies Rahula spoke that draw to Buddha's attention?
Yeah, I should have read up more carefully the commentaries. I think Rahula, being a young boy, 7 years old, he's more like, being playful and just like simply giving answers which which 7-year-old boys like to say. Nothing serious. So what the Buddha is doing is he's giving Rahula early lessons, and this is amazing. If you have a father like that who teaches you from young, you have a greater chance to have really very strong moral fortitude, moral strength. Okay, so I don't know exactly what those things. They're basically, I remember faintly, playful words which 7-year-olds like to say. Okay, I will try to read up and see if there's any specific mention. So if there is, I will mention to you again in a future course. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Arthur D. In the 4-stage breath meditation practice, I would like to please clarify the difference between stage 2 in, out, and stage 3 spaces.
Oh, sure.
In stage 3, are we mentally silent while observing the in-out breath and then make a mental note, space between the breaths?
Yeah. Okay. Very good question. Yeah, it's very important to ask such practical questions. In the 4-stage breath meditation, stage 1 and stage 2, they're called guided practice. In other words, you guide yourself, you put in the effort. The more effort you put in, wise effort, the better. Either counting or in, out, or you don't do counting, that's okay, but in, out, you have to do. So it is something, in a sense, something deliberate. You bring back your attention every time it goes away like that, So there's no full focus yet because the mind is still active. Now, once you start becoming calm, stage 2, you begin to notice the spaces growing. Between the in and the out, there is a bit more space of peace, and you feel even a slight sense of joy, and that's when you know you go to the what you call the spaces. You watch the spaces. Okay. So in other words, you still say in and then space. The spaces are getting longer and then out. You smile at the spaces. You feel it. You smile at it. You feel it. All right. So the fourth stage is a silent stage. Yeah? That's when you let all this silence take its own course. You don't have to do anything. It happens naturally. So the fourth stage is more focus, even full focus. All right. So first stage is counting. Second stage is in out. And third stage is space. Fourth stage is silence. All right. So I hope that is clear. If not, please ask again. You can also message me if you like. Okay, let's go on.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Sandy. Is there another version of this sutta in the Chinese Agama? The other version which I heard was about the simile of dirty water left over after Buddha washed his feet with the immoral of lying.
Interesting. Yeah, it is possible that there is, we can look up for you whether there's an Agama version or not. Yeah. Yeah, of course, you can also use dirty water. That sounds interesting, more graphic. Eh? Yeah, but if you notice from the early suttas, there is this what's called kind of metaphorical unity in the parable, the unity of the parables in the sequence of the all those comparisons used, right? I will check for you if there is the Agama version of this. Okay. Or rather, Ratna will check for you. Ratna knows the Agamas quite well. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, Brother Piya. There is no more question in the chat box.
Okay.
Not sure whether any brother and sister would like to
yes, any
unmute
last questions?
to ask a question. There's one new question in.
Okay.
From JH Call. Rahula was said to be the most upright in moral conduct among the Buddha's disciples. Can we say that such guidance, teachings, and trainings help much more venerable Rahula's moral conducts?
Okay, actually, technically speaking, the monk who is foremost in terms of moral conduct, strict practice, was the Buddha's half-brother, Nanda. Nanda, he was very serious about his practice. There's a very nice, beautiful story about him. Rahula is foremost of the monks who are very eager to learn, Sikha Karma, who have great desire to learn, because he was a very young monk. You know? So, of course, to learn here includes moral virtue, mental training, and wisdom, of course. In the case of Prince Nanda, he was quite playful. He was a young man when he became, when the Buddha returned to Kapilavastu. In fact, he was going to be married, and then the Buddha came to visit him, and then the Buddha is leaving, and then just leave the bowl with him. So he carries the bowl, follows the Buddha, behind the Buddha, and then he reaches the place where the Buddha is staying in Kapilavastu. Then the Buddha, for some reason, just maybe as an elder brother, just asked him, why don't you join us? Why don't you become a monk? And he didn't know how to say no. So now we call this as noblesse oblige, in French. In other words, the royalty. So you don't say no to a royal brother. So he said, okay. Well, he forgot. Maybe at that moment he forgot about his wedding and all those things. So he became a monk. So can you imagine becoming a monk at such a time? So after a while, he started thinking about the beautiful bride that was there waiting for him and so on. So he felt very uneasy, very troubled by lust and so on. So he wanted to give up his training. Then the story goes that the Buddha took him by the arm and they flew up the Himalayas, and there was a forest fire. All this can happen in his mind, of course, if you like, a kind of lesson the Buddha is giving. So as they flew above the forest of the Himalayas, there was a forest fire, and there was this poor little monkey got singed, got burned by the fire. The fur got burned, but it didn't die, and it was looked very ugly, all singed. So it was clinging to a tree, and they flew up to the heaven of the 33. Okay. Now, don't worry whether these places are true or not. Important is the story. Okay? So the Buddha reaches the heaven of the 33. It is a very happy, pleasant, pleasurable heaven. Sakra is there enjoying the company of these few hundred beautiful devas and apsaras and so on, beautiful divine beings. And there are 500 dove-footed dancing beings, heavenly beings. It's very beautiful. So the Buddha somehow knew Nanda's mind. He says, Nanda, look at all these dancing dove-footed girls. No? And they're beautiful. Nanda said, oh my goodness, yes, they are, you know. And then Nanda said, well, what do you think of them? I say, you know, now that I've seen these beautiful dancing devas, the princess I'm going to marry is not that beautiful at all. She looked like the monkey down there compared to the beauty of this really this beautiful dancing devas, you know. And then the Buddha said, you know, if you really seriously practice your monk training, you will get not just one of these beautiful devas, you get all of them, you know. And then for a while he forgot himself, you know. He said, wow, you know, yeah, that's nice, you know. And this is no commentary. You won't get this kind of story in the suttas, by the way. So they came back to the monastery, came down to earth again. And this is where you can say social opinion molded the development of Nanda, if you like. The monks heard that Nanda was taken by the Buddha to Tavatimsa and promised all these beautiful devas. So they were tickled by it. They thought it was very funny. So they teased Nanda as something like a hireling. You know, in other words, he has become a monk. He's given a bribe. He's given something. Say, wow, some people are very lucky, you know, they become monks and they get all these beautiful devas, you know. Because they know this will work on Nanda. Nanda has a deep sense of moral shame. And suddenly Nanda started thinking, say, oh my goodness, what have I done? So here you see Nanda reflecting on his actions. Says, what have I done? I mean, I have, you know, just think that this life, this monastic life is about gaining pleasure, you know. So there's this great surge of spiritual energy in him. So I'm going to do my best now. So he goes to solitary meditation, he meditates, he becomes an arahat. And he became very strict in the rules. Okay. And of course, his karma is right. The karma of Janapada Kalyani, is the princess who was to marry him, also was right. And she also became a nun. So she also became an arahat. So, okay, we should not get carried away, and we should not fall in love with love story and say, hey, that's not fair. You know, the Buddha broke up this love affair. They're supposed to be married. Isn't that terrible? Now we're talking about the Buddha's family, the holy family. We're talking about the Buddha's half-brother. You know, to be a half-brother of the Buddha, same father, different mother, you must have very good karmic connection with the Buddha. And also Janapada Kalyani, also connected in the same way. So their journey is ending at that time in a grand way. See? They became arahats. So that's the story of Nanda. Okay. All right. Questions?
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Arthur D. I have heard that inaction in regards to others is considered neutral karma. Is there a sutta where the Buddha explicitly states that not acting to help someone is unwholesome karma?
Offhand, I can't think of something. So let me reflect on this. That not doing something can also create karma. I mean, I know the teaching is there, but the example, I can't think of it, right away. Because it's obvious, if there is a sutta I'm going to do called, the Kalunka Sutta, where this monk is supposed to confess an offense and he remains silent. And by that too, he has offended the Sangha. So that's the closest I can think of, the Kalunka Sutta, which we'll be doing in a few months' time. It's in the program, so you look up in the program, you will see it, I think. All right. Okay. Sorry, I can give you the details here at the moment. Okay, let's go on. Next question, please.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. Next question from TLSF. If by speaking the truth, one knows that it will affect the relationship of two other friends, will it amount to divisive speech?
Yes, this is a very important question. Yes, you have to be very careful when speaking the truth. All right. You don't. Okay. Number one, you need not tell the whole truth. Okay. In fact, you need not tell the truth at that moment by being. You can be silent if your intention is not greed, hatred, or delusion. And this is something the Buddha is known to do. Silence. Right. Yeah. In a sense, I'm answering Arthur's question also. The silence of the Buddha. For example, there is this famous story about King Pasenadi's wife who passed away. A very good, beautiful wife, very, very spiritual person. So he was very sad, he was devastated. The sad thing is the wife, the queen passed away with a negative thought in his mind. So he was reborn in a suffering state for 7 days. And so, of course, the king asked the Buddha, where is the queen reborn? Now, the truth is, he's reborn in a suffering state. So the Buddha did not say anything. The Buddha just remained silent, and he changed the subject. He spoke about some other thing. Because he knew if he were to tell the truth, oh, your queen is reborn in a suffering state, this poor king will not be able to take it. He will be devastated even more. Okay? So the Buddha held back that truth. This is not lying, because it will harm the king, Pasenadi. So the Buddha went on like that. So the king asked, each day the king asked the question. Finally, on the 8th day, the karma is finished. 8th day on earth, but 7 days in that suffering state is a long time. This queen is reborn according to her good karma in a happy state. Then the Buddha happily tells the king, oh, she's reborn in a happy state. Right? So the king is happy, and the story ends happily. So telling the right thing at the right time in the right way is very important. Or not telling yet with good intention is also important. But remember, by not telling, it doesn't harm you, doesn't harm others, doesn't harm environment, then you are right. Then you can do that. Yeah. So in a sense, you are right. Okay, we should not say something which is the truth, but then it will destroy relationships, right? So there are things. The question is, are people strong enough to handle such stories or not? So that's another thing. Okay. So this is where, for example, in counseling, I get a young person comes to me and say, I've gone through so many relationships. Should I tell my future wife about this? I said, well, I don't think you will know the outcome, so you should not tell these things because they're not necessary, really. All right. And because if you tell this thing and this person doesn't, if you take the risk that this person will forgive you, or if the person doesn't accept it, you're willing to break up, okay, it's up to you. But you must look at the consequences. Is it worth telling? Is it worthwhile? Of course, here there is a proviso that you are a changed person, you are now an honest person. You saw in the past, you were young and frivolous then, things like that. So these are things we got to consider also, on the moral strength, the psychological strength, emotional strength of the other person. Now, I'm not saying that we all are perfect people. After reading the Rāhula Sutta, we know exactly what to do. It's not like that. We may make wrong judgments. We may not even be sure whether we're doing the right thing or not. That is why review is very important. Through reviewing, we learn how to correct ourselves. We're not perfect. This is the first noble truth. First noble truth, another way of looking at it is, we are not perfect. Right? And second noble truth, what is causing that imperfection? All right, that noble truth is, how can we remove that imperfection and build ourselves towards perfection? And then fourthly, actually doing it. It takes time. Okay. Okay, let's go on.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Jayesh Kaur. When someone invited the Buddha for dana, the Buddha kept quiet as sign of yes.
Yes.
Why Buddha did not say yes?
This is interesting. Yeah, I think it's a kind of ancient custom, you know, even common with the other religious people. He has no reason to say anything. He's free. He's able to go. Time is right, so he probably smiled. The Buddha is well known to give a gentle smile. He'll probably smile, and it is a social convention those days. If the Buddha doesn't say anything, it means yes. Okay, in those days, but not today. Okay, so this is a social convention. For example, if the Buddha is not able to go for that dana, the Buddha will say, "Oh, somebody has already offered the dana." He will say that. So he has no reason to say those things. So silence here means acceptance. All right. So there is a Latin word, I've forgotten what it is. Silence means agreement. Yeah. And we do have that even in the Sangha meeting. You know? For example, during ordination of a monk, they go through, they recite all the act of the ordination. And at the high point, the announcer will say, okay, now this is the third reading. If no one here, if no monk here, assembled monk here has any objection to the ordination of so-and-so, then let the Sangha be silent. So the silence of the Sangha is noted first time, it's noted the second time, noted the third time, then, okay, so so-and-so is now a monk. That's the time when the preceptor will look at the clock exactly when the ordination has occurred. So that's the exact time when the person is ordained as a monk, after the silence of the Sangha, accepting the ordinant into the order. Okay, so it's quite interesting. This is the legal aspect of the Sangha. All right, let's go on.
Thank you, Brother Piya. I think there's the last question from the chat box. Oh, there's one more.
One more, yeah. Sorry, keep coming. Okay.
There's one information from Arthur D. Wikipedia Latin. What's that?
Oh, okay. Oh dear.
Arthur can.
Yeah, let Arthur read it.
To say the words.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to recite Latin, but I just found that it's qui tacet consentire vitutur. He who is silent is taken to agree. Yes. Sorry, I just wanted to look it up.
I have quoted this in one of my writings, just that I can't remember the whole sentence. But thank you. The word tacit is there. Yeah. Tacit is to be silent. You know, taciturn in English. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Arthur. All right. That's interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, Sister Nasim.
Any other last questions? Yeah.
I think there are no more questions for today.
May I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Greetings from Hong Kong. I'm Ryan.
Hi.
First time joining you all. Very interesting, very educational. Now that we know Brother Piya is 60,
I'm 72.
May your life be long and continue to share wisdom and knowledge with us. Observation for today. very interesting, watching one's body, speech, and mind. At this moment, I'm sure, out of my ignorance, we're talking about, will my action, whether it's body, speech, or mind, will it harm others, harm myself, harm others, or harm both? I'm sure there is a positive aspect of that. Will my action benefit others as well? Will it benefit me? Will it benefit me? And second observation is with regards the confession. Confession to the teacher, confession to the is it
spiritual friends,
other brothers.
Yeah.
What about confession to the victim? I've done something wrong. I should.
Yes, under proper circumstances, if it is properly done and it will heal, it will help the victim. At some time, maybe not immediately, because we never be able to know, see. But sometimes, happily, the victim will feel, wow, very happy. But sometimes it may take time because people are hurt, and, it can be very difficult. The important thing is your intention is there and you're willing to face the consequences. There is moral courage. You are willing to face that difficulty. Okay, of course, obviously moral courage is moral cowardice. So moral courage means you have to go through some difficulties yourself, things like that. So all this you have to consider and broadly say, okay, how can I do it? When can I do it? Things like that. So it's a very difficult decision. It must be wisely considered and wisely executed. And if the intention is that's wonderful, something will work out. Okay, yeah, that's a wonderful statement. Yes. Okay, sadhu. Okay, yeah, any more last questions or statements? You're most welcome. We've got still a bit of time, a few minutes more.
Maybe another comment with regards to your opening statement about how we can do things maybe more collectively.
Yes.
That is something you should pursue. I think it is definitely worth the while.
Yes.
Worthwhile doing it.
Yes. Well, I have a lot to say here. Let me just say for a couple of minutes. In Malaysia, Singapore, our Buddhism is imported Buddhism. We mainly follow teachings from other cultures, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, the West, So we do not have a really strong local culture. We are a colonized culture. Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, we all have been colonized by others, Whereas you see, when Buddhism reaches the West, I have many Western friends even here in our community, in our Zoom class. You find they immediately take in Buddhism and they're able to work together and somehow make Buddhism a social reality, even a social force. Okay, you have in the US a Buddhist Peace Fellowship, for example, and various social action groups. All right. So what I'm saying, we can do this, and we've got to start thinking locally. We've got to start working together instead of promoting foreign missions. Instead of because foreign missions, they've helped us, yes. So what we've got to help ourselves. Even those foreign missions in their countries, Buddhism came to their countries, and then they grew the Bodhi tree there. They became Buddhist locally. So if we keep thinking I'm a Tibetan Buddhist, I'm a Sinhala Buddhist, Burmese Buddhist, I mean, if you're not those races, then I suppose the best karma you get next time will be reborn in those countries, in those cultures, But the point is, what about our local people? How do we serve and work together as a local community? We're not against any other community. What we're doing is we need to strengthen the local community so that we have a voice in the matters of our own home. Then we have a proper stand in the global community. To a certain extent, we have done that. That is why we can gather together here in a global community. So we are heading that way, but we need to keep on doing this. And yet we still welcome others, definitely. I mean, Buddhism is a commonwealth. We welcome others, but we can only welcome others when we do have a home, our own Dhamma home, the Bodhi tree in our garden. So this is my idea, that locals, and we have lots of local, really great people who are good teachers and with their own translations, things like that. So we are not short of talents at all, right? And here we are organizing this Zoom gathering and so on. Okay, so I hope that helps to inspire people. Yeah. Okay, yes. Let's go on.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. I think we will end the session for today.
Yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, just in time. Okay, so now we have the closing salutation. Once again, we have gathered together here globally, each of us sacrificing some time. That is a practice of renunciation. So recollect the good things you have done today. You have renounced a bit of your time. You have made a sacrifice. You have observed the 5 precepts. You have done some meditation and listened to the Dhamma. You have talked the Dhamma, discussed the Dhamma. These are all actions of great blessing. Recalling this moment of goodness, of peace and joy. May we all be well and happy. May you be well and happy. May our relatives and loved ones and friends, even our enemies, be well and happy. That we may be kind to each other in time to come. So this is the time for you to send your special thoughts. Those are important to you. And may those who are suffering from all these difficulties that the COVID is bringing us, may they quickly overcome all these difficulties. So send your thoughts in this very precious moment to people who are precious to you. And now let us close with the closing salutations to the 3 jewels. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, that's wonderful. So next lesson, Rāhul'ovāda Sutta. It's even more about meditation. Okay.
Thank you, Brother Piya. Thank you, everyone, for joining the lesson today. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. And we will take this opportunity to wish everyone happy Chinese New Year next week. Gong Xi Fa Cai.
Gong Xi Fa Cai, yes.
Continue to stay safe.
Okay, yes, you too.
Yeah, we see you all in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you. Happy New Year to all of you.